guides him down to the rail as the field turns for home. Unaccounted for down inside, a quarter of a mile between Cigar and a perfect season. Coming down to the last furlong with a 2.5 length lead, and Jerry Bailey calls on Cigar for everything he has. The Carrier is awakening second on the inside, unaccounted for. On the outside, Solo the Manor, and here he is, the incomparable, invincible, unbeatable Cigar!
The Thoroughbred, 1,000 pounds of living, breathing flesh, is truly one of the world's most majestic athletes. In the time vacuum of the race, the horse ceases to be a statistical composite and becomes a self-directed racing athlete relying on muscle, bone, stamina, and the desire to run ahead of the pack. Occasionally, a very special horse may take on history itself, defying the odds and the handicappers in a display of boldness and superiority. In the 1989 Swap Stakes, Prized was able to seize a critical moment in a move that would upset Sunday Silence's lead. Many wondered why.
Prized is second, broke the mold third, and in Dow as they sweep off the turn.
He propped. He was about 4 lengths in front of the 16th pole, and they saw where they dragged the truck that gate off there, and he did that, and he'll do that. And when you hit him, he does it worse. And then that horse just caught him, beat him in the line.
Prize coming after him, though, with a late run. It's Prize, Sunday Silence, Prize in a major upset.
We knew that Prize would probably run the race of his life. Whether we could actually predict and say that he was going to go out and beat the Kentucky Derby winner, well, we weren't that smart. But we felt that he could go out and run his race, and we also felt that if Sunday Silence made a mistake, if he didn't quite fire, then Prize would. Prize came up to that race as good as a horse could come up. He was training great, he looked great, he felt great, and he ran great.
The new Swap Stakes champion, Prized, drew on all the physical and psychological resources he had to win. He used his advantage, his superior physical condition and mental state, to overcome the odds on that particular summer day in 1989. To pick the horse with the special edge, professional trainers make it their business to know the telltale signs of a horse's condition. They pay careful attention to a horse's body language throughout the day of a race. Professional trainers know that horses display many behavioral patterns, some positive, others negative, which indicate the psychological and physical state of the animal. They know how to spot a winner and whether or not to bet on their own horses on that particular day. The racing enthusiast who understands their visual handicapping technique has the final piece of the racing puzzle. He has the trainer's edge. Hello there, everybody. I'm Gil Stratton, and I've been looking at the nation's top horses for many years. As a sportscaster, it's been my pleasure to cover many of the greatest thoroughbreds right here at Hollywood Park. Right now in this video, you're going to hear from some of the people who make this sport go. We'll talk to trainers. These are often the men and women behind the scenes who never get into the spotlight except for a big win in a major race. They have some inside information you have to hear. You'll get a chance to listen to some of the jockeys, those superb athletes who ride and guide almost a ton of living, breathing racing machine around the track. They get to feel when a horse is ready and when he's not. And you'll come to know some of the people, just like yourselves, who come to the track to have a good time and like to win, too. One of them wants to share some of those observations because they work. First, let's go to the stable area and try to catch some of the trainers when and where you usually find a trainer early in the morning with his horses. Work begins early at Hollywood Park. Although the day has barely begun, trainer Christian Dumas is already returning from a morning workout with his young charge, Particular Style. This magnificent 3-year-old is a truly beautiful horse. Every inch of this animal says winner. The sparkling eyes, the brilliant coat, the well-developed muscling. These are the trademarks of a superior thoroughbred, and this is the classic look of a sharp horse. Craig Lewis grew up not far from Hollywood Park. He's a local product who burst upon the national scene in 1988 with 6 wins in graded races with a 6-year-old sleeper named Cutlass Reality. A graduate of the University of California at Berkeley, Craig is also a lawyer, and he gave it all up for his first love, thoroughbred racing. Craig, has it been worth it?
Absolutely, Gil. Wouldn't be happier doing anything else.
What do you look for?
Well, there's so many variables. I think the main thing is that you just have to look for a happy horse, which entails quite a bit. A horse that looks like he might be aggressive yet still calm enough to conserve energy, and just a horse that has a good physical overall appearance, good shiny coat, not a washy coat, but a good shiny coat, and it doesn't take a real keen eye to be able to discriminate between the two. Usually, a horse that is washing is sweating, and what it really amounts to, you'll probably see like a lot of white lather, for example. Mm-hmm. But if a horse's coat glistens in the sun, that's usually a very good sign of health, good health.
A glistening coat, free of profuse sweating, is typical of an extraordinary horse in top physical condition. He isn't burning up all his energy before the race like a nervous horse, and he's easy to spot because there is a blinding shine to his coat. He gleams in the sun like polished mahogany. He's sharp, feels good, and is ready to go. A real trainer's edge racing athlete that stands out from the other horses.
The difference, the shiny horse, he's the healthy horse. The horse that's good inside, he looks good outward. The horse that's dull, he's probably not as healthy or as good inside.
When a horse is healthy, he will be dappled, shiny. Dapples are spots that you will see all over the horse's body. The more dapples, the healthier he usually is.
When looking for the light and dark spots of dappling, it's important to remember that these markings are produced in the skin, not the hair. Dapples mean the horse is in top physical condition from the inside out. In addition to coat, muscle and balance are also important criteria when judging the appearance of a horse. 5-year-old Blue-Eyed Danny, winner of the $100,000 Montclair Handicap, is the kind of horse that legendary trainer Wayne Lucas likes to see. Compact, beautifully muscled, with everything in the right place.
Generally what you want to see is good balance, and you know, athletes that do well, I'm talking about human athletes, usually look athletic, and it's the same thing with a racehorse. You want some muscle tone, you want him to look like he's fit and he's got that good muscle tone. And then I think the other thing is balance, and balance is kind of an intangible a little bit, in that I think that he's got to have a good balance to his neck and a good set to his shoulder and a good set to his hip, and these things should blend together. And it takes a little while to get your eye trained to that. I mean, you talk about it, but it's kind of like a beautiful woman. If she walks in the room, we all know that she's beautiful. After you looked at enough horses, when you see the right one, everybody doesn't have to nudge you and tell you it's a good-looking horse.
Prize has amongst his
Confirmation is very important, what a horse looks like. We like to see horses that look like athletes. Just as if you were coaching a football team, you could see that a 6'5", 275-pound player wouldn't be your halfback. Same thing with a horse. You have to see an athlete with a horse. You want the conformation to be good. You want him to be well balanced. You want to have everything in the right place. You like a good shoulder, a good hip, and you want the horse obviously to have some scope and some size.
Well-developed muscles are important in the thoroughbred racehorse. As you evaluate a horse's appearance, be sure to check each horse following Trainer's Edge muscle and balance criteria. In the rear, we look at the Gaskin muscle. It should be protruding and powerful, a sure sign of an extra sharp horse. His racing dimple should be long, deep, and well-defined by massive muscles that branch out from the Gaskin and extend to the base of the tail. This critical racing muscle should stand out as if the horse were a weightlifter primed for competition. Look for flanks that are layered with muscle horizontally. The horse's front end and back end should be balanced. The Trainer's Edge horse will exhibit all-around superior muscling in classic well-balanced proportions. Avoid horses that are too thin or lightly muscled. A quick check of the Gaskin, the flank, and racing dimple will help you spot horses that should be eliminated from your list of probable winners that day. Now compare our well-muscled Trainer's Edge horse with his lightly muscled competitor. The undeveloped horse simply does not have the power to compete with the well-muscled Trainer's Edge horse. For the racing fan using the Trainer's Edge system, the eyes are a window into the horse's state of mind and well-being. World-renowned trainer Jack Van Berg, son of the venerable training titan Marion H. Van Berg, and a legend in his own right, agrees that when it comes to spotting the winner, the eyes have it.
It's just like you or I. The horses are just like human beings. When you come to work and you've been haggard out and you're tired and your system is not alert, your eyes are dead. You have a dead look in your eye. And the horses is the same way. When they come in that paddock, my dad used to say when they had that look in their eye, that was the look of the eagle. When they'd have that bright, and their eyes really have a bright look to them. And that's where I go by. You got to look at the hair coat to them and see if they're slick and got a good coat to them and their eyes bright.
The eyes of a horse are a telltale sign of race readiness. It is sometimes difficult to distinguish between a frisky, high-spirited horse who wants to get out and onto the track and a nervous, fractious horse who is in no condition to run. Look at the horse's eye. If the whites of the eye are showing and the horse is straining to hold his head very high, then he is distracted, apprehensive, and frightened. His mind will not be on racing. He's afraid and wants to get away from his handlers and rider and would be more comfortable in the safety of his stall on this particular race day. A horse's ear is the most expressive part of his head. The body language of a horse's ear is therefore easy to read. A horse tends to point his ears in the direction of his attention. In general, one looks for ears that alternate between being pricked forward and flicking back and forward. Remember that where a horse points his ears is where his interest is. A horse who is interested in his surroundings is a curious and confident horse. By contrast, a horse whose ears are pinned back is angry. For some reason, the horse is not pleased with his situation. This horse is clearly ticked off, and the last thing he wants to do is win a race. He may actually try to kick other horses or throw his rider. Race fans using the Trainer's Edge avoid these horses because they are distracted and preoccupied with their own anger.
You'd like to see his ears pricked forward, get glancing back once in a while, listening to the rider, listening to the crowd, so that he's not comatose just in that. If his ears are constantly pricked just in the forward direction, he's not paying any attention to anything else. You want him to be alert, to be aware of everything that's going on around them.
The post parade of the 1991 Beverly Hills Handicap. Horse number 3, Al Can Do, is in top form thanks to the efforts of trainer Bill Shoemaker and assistant trainer Patrick Gallagher. Take a look at those ears. She looks alert and eager to run. But is Al Can Do, winner of the Chapel Hill Handicap, ready to once again bring home the prize?
finding more as El Can Do. Fire the Groom, Sun Brandy, Something Merry coming late. El Can Do's going to go all the way to the wire. El Can Do and Julio Garcia have won the Beverly Hills. Phil Shoemaker completing the exacta with Fire the Groom second.
Like the ears, the tail of a horse is very expressive, and its various gestures are important to the observer using the trainer's edge method. You'll hear a lot about tails around the track. Because of a tail's conspicuous visibility, people like to speculate about the meaning of its various movements. Fortunately, the trainer's edge method is simple and straightforward. We look for 3 key tail postures: the arched tail, the erect or held out tail, and finally the swishing tail. A horse with an arched tail is a horse that you'll want to pay special attention to, especially if his neck is also arched. We'll talk about the arched neck a little later, but for now, it's important to note that the horse with an arched tail is generally a happy, sharp horse. His prancing and eagerness tell you he's sharp and race ready. It's important to distinguish between a tail which is arched out and a tail that's being held out. Notice that the tail points straight back and is not arched. This means that the horse is uncomfortable. You'll want to monitor this and make sure that it doesn't persist. If it does, the horse may become distracted, irritated, and incapable of performing well during the race. The swishing tail is definitely a bad sign. This horse is very uncomfortable and may become apprehensive if the discomfort does not pass. Again, monitor this horse carefully before the race. He is distracted and his mind is not on what's going on around him. If the swishing is present in the paddock and persists in the parade to the post, then this horse is definitely upset and won't run well. Now, let's look at some other important trainer's edge visual handicapping techniques to use in the paddock. Most racing fans don't realize that the paddock is where the race first starts to form, but people who have success playing horses regard the paddock as a critical part of their afternoon's pre-race study. So be sure to make a trip to the paddock to ensure that you're able to evaluate each horse that your preliminary handicapping favors. A horse in the paddock offers critical information that's sought by professional trainers like David Bernstein.
Well, Gil, most of the things we look for in the paddock prior to the races. Looking for changes in the horse's legs from race to race. And then I like to see a horse that's kind of feeling good, but without being too silly and washy. I think you discussed washiness earlier in this, and it just indicates a horse that may be too nervous to perform his best. However, we have claimed some horses over the years that only perform when they were washy, so it really helps when you learn to know the horses and consistently watch them.
Would it be to your advantage to keep notes then?
Absolutely. I keep all the programs, making notes on each race, each performance, and if I see a horse suddenly begin to come around, as I say, begin to improve in his racing performance, might look like a claim down the road, we'll do it.
What should a fan look for as far as the condition of a horse when he sees him in the paddock for the first time?
Well, you know, you don't have to be an expert to sort of pick up on attitude and condition. You know, if a horse is eager, willing, obviously, you know, he's on the muscle, he wants to get out there, he's ready to go. If he seems overly quiet or he's sweating profusely, things that might indicate that he's not too comfortable about what's going to happen are a very good indication. Also, if a fan looks at the animal before the race standing still, Mother Nature made all of us, humans and animals, symmetrical. So one leg should look like the other. If you see that one knee is a little different size or shape than the other, one ankle, that indicates that there may be some soundness problems there. The other thing that the fan should remember is that from one race to the next, soundness is not always the same, and it's a dynamic thing. It changes almost daily. So a lot of fans get onto a favorite horse. They won with him last time. They don't remember that things change from day to day. Even with tennis players, you know, they have their problems periodically, and horses are the same.
If a horse is having a problem that day and shows it in the paddock, his chances of running in top form are diminished, even if he's a heavy favorite. Trainer D. Wayne Lucas, whose horses brought in over $15 million in 1991 alone, knows that a horse's paddock behavior says a lot about how he'll perform in the race.
Well, I think the big thing in the paddock is that you like to see composure. You know, in athletics, and you've, of course, been in locker rooms where you see athletes react differently to situations before a game. Some of them are very quiet, some of them are sleeping, some of them are pacing the floor, some of them are breaking out in a sweat. Well, racehorses are very, very similar, and I like to see a composed horse in the paddock. By that, I mean that he's not sweating excessively. He's well within himself. His eye is bright. He's looking forward to the event, but he's not crazy and using up a lot of unused energy. I think you got to have that composure in order to get the best out of him.
Robin Dancer, seen here with Hall of Fame jockey Lafitte Penkai, was in top form as he walked to the paddock before the 1991 Triple Bend Handicap. He had the look that Wayne Lucas likes to see in the paddock. And Robin Dancer, calm and alert in the paddock, gave it his all on the track.
Robin Dancer clear by 4. Blackjack Road coming on the outside. Sam Hoop can find no more, nor can Blue Eye Danny Brujo on the extreme outside. But Robin Dancer is out here moving like a winner. Robin Dancer and Lafitte Penkai have the Triple Bend at their mercy here. Mark up third straight win for Robin Dancer. Cruises to a very impressive win.
Now let's talk to another trainer whose insights into the paddock evaluation can help you sharpen your own trainer's edge advantage.
One of the big advantages in horse training is if you're able to decipher many movements that a horse makes throughout the day, his habits, the places where he stands in the stall, how he moves on the track, and give a meaning to each one of those movements, you'll be able to deal with any problems that he has. Before we even look at horses warming up for a race, we watch them in the toe ring, in the paddock after they've been saddled. And some of the things you may want to look for there, on the negative side, if a horse walks very wide, I get a little animated as I talk.
Go ahead.
But if he paddles, if his legs go from side to side in egg beater motion, he's probably either sore in his knees or his feet, the bottoms of his feet. If it's in the knees, a very good eye can detect maybe a little fluid edema in the knees, and that would be a horse that you may want to stay away from as far as betting or claiming a horse goes. If it's in his feet, and it's difficult to distinguish, it takes a lot of practice to be able to tell the difference, but the egg beater motion is easy to see.
We joined Vlad out at the racetrack to watch him apply his trainer's edge at the paddock. Let's see what he thinks about these horses on this particular race day.
Horse 1, weak on conformation, toes out, good looking coat, looks relatively sound. Horse 2, the coat is a little rough, getting the winter coat. Horse number 3 seems a little wetter than most. It is a very hot day, but it is quite warm around the neck, seems to be shivering just slightly, looks drawn up. I don't expect a big race from horse number 3. Horse number 4, both ankles a little rounded. 5 horse looks in very good condition, carrying a lot of weight, shiny. Horse number 6 looks clean. Here comes number 7, seems very alert. Not washy at all. Looks like a good, strong mare.
Vlad Zarin's paddock evaluation favors 3 horses. Number 5 for his conditioning and muscle weight. Number 6 because the horse looks clean, meaning it looks in top form with no visible negative signs. And finally, number 7 for her shiny coat and strength. Let's see how his choices pan out.
1/8 of a mile to go, and now Jewel Ball is asked to run. Jones Queen is tough and hanging on in the inside. Venturia in third, past the 16th pole. Jewel Ball, Jones Queen coming again at her. Jones Queen came again on the inside, and Jones Queen won it next to Jewel Ball. Venturia was third.
Vlad's paddock choices were right on the money. So do what trainers do. Go to the paddock and study it carefully. It could be where you spot the winner. The post parade is where the racing fan, using the trainer's edge system, confirms or reevaluates his observations from the paddock. As the horses come out on the track, they will first parade from one end of the stands to the other, then turn around and gallop toward the starting gate. This is where professional trainers do their final assessment of a horse's race readiness.
Once you get that horse ready to run, then it's important that the horse acts well. And if you see him on the racetrack, you want a horse to look sharp on the racetrack. You want to see him on his toes. You want to see the horse mentally ready to run. You don't like to see a lethargic horse out there. You want the horse to be on the muscle, on the bit, prancing, feeling good, and you'd like to see the horse's coat shine as well. That is a sign of a good, healthy horse.
And sometimes you look for key things that a horse will do that are different than things that's done in the past. For instance, if a horse has been very quiet in the post parade in his previous races and his efforts were just kind of dull and lackluster, now all of a sudden he's on his toes and bouncing and everything, it's a very good sign. Usually the horse will run a much better race than he had previously. And vice versa. Sometimes you'll ride a horse that's very, very keyed up and sweaty and everything, and that affects his performance on the track. Then the next time you ride him, he's quiet and he's calm, he's collected, yet still sharp. He'll go out there and run a much better race. So the key factor with watching horses in a post parade, I think, is knowing the horse that you're watching and seeing if there's anything, any positive signs, a difference in the horse's behavior.
The $1 million Hollywood Park Gold Cup was one of 1991's premier racing events. As the bugle sounded the call to the track, all eyes were on the parade of horses who were competing for the mile-and-a-quarter race's largest purse ever. Horse number 3, Farmer Way, was the heavy favorite. He had a nice coat, seemed alert, but did not seem as fresh as two other horses in the race. We asked his trainer, Wayne Lucas, why this was.
He's the one horse that was in the Gold Cup that has traveled extensively around the country. He's made most of the series. And to travel and race on 5 or 6 different racetracks, come back here and catch that fresh bunch of horses who were just sitting here waiting for him, I thought he ran very well.
The two fresh horses, which were standouts in the post parade of the Gold Cup, were number 8, a long shot named Marquetry, and number 9, It's All Greek to Me. Both horses fit the trainer's edge profile. Great shine, on their toes, prancing eagerly, ready to explode with anticipation. As you can see, horse number 8, Marquetry, looked exceptionally good in the paddock before the race, and trainer Bobby Frankel's game plan would end up working to perfection as Marquetry upset the heavy favorite to take the $1 million prize.
Really, all we had to do was just keep him fit and not overdo it, and just keep him fresh and make sure he wanted to bounce out of the gate and get the lead, and did nothing special. He was just in very good shape before the race.
To the lead, but Marquetry being pushed along, gets a tap on the shoulder, and Marquetry kicks on to get the lead. Farmer Way quite content to let him go out and lead them.
I thought by me getting an easy lead, I'd have a shot to get part of the purse, and who knows, I thought maybe I can win it even, you know.
Farmer Way, Marquetry, these two head for home together. It's All Greek to Me is back in third, the others are far back. An eighth of a mile to go. Marquetry has the weight advantage. Farmer Way has the class. Which one's going to win it? Farmer Way, Marquetry. Farmer Way wearing him down inch by inch, but Marquetry's tough and hanging on. They're going to hit the wire together. Here it is, and Marquetry has won the Gold Cup from Farmer Way.
A good stride is one of the most important factors in racing, as thoroughbred horses are very delicate. Their front legs absorb most of the punishment from racing. So it's important to evaluate the soundness of each horse's stride as he goes by the stands in the post parade. We asked track veterinarian Greg Ferraro about stride.
Is there anything to look for when the horses are warming up?
Well, definitely, again, attitude comes into play, and also when they get out there on the track, their stride, you know. You see the horses come out of the paddock and go to the post parade. when they break off after they've gone by the grandstand, that's a good time to watch them, because if they're eager to go and take off, have a nice long stride, go easily around the racetrack without much urging from the jockey, you know that they're pretty sound, they want to do it.
You want a horse that looks like he's free moving and relaxed. You don't want a horse to be over aggressive, and you don't want a horse to be choppy moving. A horse that's short striding and choppy, there's usually some type of physical problem. Just like any other athlete, you want them to look loose and full of themselves, but in a conserved way.
Well, you kind of like a nice, easy-going, good striding horse. Sunday Salins had a very good way of changing leads. You never know. A rider never knew when he changed leads, and he could do things so quick that it gave him a great advantage.
It's also important to notice the horse with a bad stride. The first signs of injury are uneven, choppy strides in the front legs. You can see this as the horse gallops down to the gate.
The other point to watch is when the horses either first start into their gallop or first break down into a trot coming from a gallop. If there's any unsoundness, you can see it most easily then. And what you watch for is a head nod on one leg or the other. In other words, they drop their head on one side or the other. Any sort of inconsistency in gait. If you could hear a horse's foot hit the dirt, if you were close enough to hear it, you would listen for a rhythm change. In other words, each stride has a certain rhythm. It's just like a drummer beating a rhythm on a drum. When a horse becomes unsound, that rhythm gets changed, and that's an indication that there's something wrong. You can either hear the rhythm or you can watch the rhythm of the horse moving and try and, see that it's a nice, smooth, even rhythm and gait.
This is what you do not want to see. This horse has an awkward gait, observable clearly in the front legs. A horse that's nodding and obviously limping should be eliminated from your selections as well.
If you're sore with your left leg, the right leg will make a much quicker stride. When a human is sore, the left leg will go out there nice and slowly, and then the right will come over quickly to take the weight off the left leg. Horses do the same thing.
One of the most important factors to watch out for is how a horse comes out of the race. If he's injured, he won't be able to perform the next time out. Perfect example of a trainer's edge super ready thoroughbred is River Special, seen here as he warms up for the 1992 Hollywood Park Futurity. His tail is arched. He displays superior muscling in a shiny coat. He's prancing eagerly to the gate, ready to race. Trainers call this being on his toes. Eager as ever, River Special displays a smooth, fluid stride as he warms up for the race. This is what race fans using the trainer's edge look for. We asked River Special's trainer, Bob Hess Jr., about the horse's conditioning and readiness for the Futurity.
He'll be the perfect role model for your video here, and I hope he runs his looks. If he does, he'll win by 10. As far as his own condition, he's in peak health and will run the race of his life.
Chestnuts out there by 6. It's River Special and Stuka to take the Hollywood Futurity. River Special.
River Special strides as if he has legs of steel. It's a long, flowing, rhythmic motion. Picture perfect. This is what you want to see in a good trainer's edge horse. addition to stride, the other important factor to look for as the horses gallop for the gate is the positioning of the neck. If the horse's neck is arched, with the horse pulling tightly on the reins, it's a very positive sign. We asked trainer Bob Hess for his opinion.
Well, definitely an arched neck is important because it indicates that the horse is tugging at the rider and ready to run. As far as how do you get a horse that way, you don't over-race him and you train him and get him very sharp. But if you over-race him or underfeed him or don't have him ready, then they won't be that way.
When you see a horse warming up before the race and you see him bow his neck, is that a good sign as a rule?
As a rule, that's a very good sign.
I like to see an arched neck because it indicates an animal that's proud and wants to compete and win.
You like to see a horse really on the muscle, feeling good, yet well within himself. And I've had some horses that absolutely can't bow their necks. Their conformation doesn't permit a horse to really tuck his head the way you're talking about. But the majority of them, that's a really good sign.
I think it's a proud horse and a happy horse that usually does that.
Corporate report, criminal type like to get on the muscle, as we say, bow their neck and get into it. My horses usually run a little bit better fresh, and that I think is probably a product of our training program. I like to leave a little bit more energy into them, a little bit more try, if you will, and so they'll go to the gate a little bit apprehensive.
Here is a rare glimpse of Breeders' Cup champion Ali Sheba working out. This is the epitome of positive body language. The arched neck, arched tail, great coat, legs of steel striding powerfully down the track. This is the kind of a horse you'll want to bet on. We asked world-renowned jockey Lafitte Pinkai his opinion on conditioning.
The leading active jockey in the world is jockey Lafitte Pinkai. Lafitte has over 7,500 wins in 27 years, second only to the retired Bill Shoemaker's 8,833. One of 65 jockeys in the Hall of Fame, Pinkai is either second or third in every record category that counts at the track. He shares the record of 6 wins in one day with the great Shoe, and he knows how to ride and he knows how to win. Lafitte, one of the things that we noticed with you when you get a horse that has his neck arched, like we just saw you do, what does that mean to you?
Well, that means that he's full of run, he wants to go, he's feeling well, and he's full of strength, so that's a good sign when they do that.
Is there any way that a jockey can help a horse to do that, or does that have to come naturally from the horse?
Well, I think it comes naturally from the horse. They're different style, and some of them have that type of style, and you just got to look forward to, look for the horse to show you that.
Just after our interview, Lafitte had horse number 10, Manu, to ride in the third race of the day. He took the horse down last to give us a good look at her tight reins and slightly arched neck. Let's look and see what happened in her race.
A 16th to go, and Manu is still well clear, and it's going to be a Lafitte Pinkai double as Manu goes on to win it easy.
June 30th, 1991, a beautiful day for the Baffle Handicap at Hollywood Park, a race that would be won by the youngest horse in the field, a 3-year-old chestnut named Apollo. In the post parade, Apollo displayed a long, sound stride and a slightly arched neck. This is the kind of stride trainer Vlad Serene looks for in a horse before the race.
I like to see a horse in the post parade elongate his stride, whether it be jogging or loping. I want a long stride, and I want that stride to be going forward and not up.
We interviewed Apollo's trainer, Gary Jones, just after the horse's record-breaking finish at the Baffle Handicap.
He's got unbelievable stride. I trained his mother. She was very fast, and her thing was 5.5 furlongs on the turf also. She won a stake doing that, so.
He has an arched neck, and you gotta like that.
Yeah, he's not very big, but he's so well put together. There's nothing wasted on the horse. Everything's smooth, and he's got a tremendous attitude. He's got a winner's attitude. He thinks he's a big shot, even though he's a little horse.
Now Apollo and Forest Glow are coming to take him on. An eighth of a mile to go. Cox's Enchanté. Apollo and Forest Glow down at the rail. A 16th to go. And now Cox's Enchanté's weakened. Forest Glow and Apollo. Apollo, Forest Glow, nose and nose to the wire. At the wire, close. Could go either way. Apollo or Forest Glow.
Take a look at that photo finish. Here is your payoff with the Trainer's Edge. A winning mutual and a horse that equals the world record. The San Gabriel Mountains of Southern California provide a dramatic early morning backdrop for riders exercising their horses at Santa Anita. Many tracks offer an early morning workout program open to the general public. This is a particularly good time to see the horses because they will be galloping without a lead pony, so there is nothing to obstruct your view as you evaluate the horse's appearance and stride. Trainer Vlad Serene shows us what he looks for in the early morning workout.
You can see by this horse's body language, he really enjoys training. He can't get enough. Just loves to lean into that turn and take off. The exercise rider is pretty much worn out, but the horse is still ready to go. Now here's a horse. He's all over the place. The rider's putting a lot of pressure on the mouth. Again, the horse looks very sound. He wants to take off and run forward. Okay, reaching out, neck bowed. And then the one behind him looks quite sore. He doesn't want to stretch out at all. He hits the ground very hard. See, the front one looks great. Just nice and relaxed, loose everywhere. Now this one, I doubt that he'll change to his right lead. He looks, woof. He's quite unhappy about that. This horse has gone twice around at a very slow pace, but he's enjoyed every bit of it. His neck is still bowed, his ears are pricked. He's paying attention to his rider. He just enjoys being out here. This is the kind of horse that you would want to bet on. Now here's a horse who strides, it is a little choppy. His tail is up in the back, so he's a little uncomfortable. He's not bad, but he's slightly uncomfortable. Now let's see how he changes to his right lead. I suspect that he'll be very short and not want to do it. He hasn't changed yet. Not yet. He should have changed by now in the straightaway. He almost seems unwilling to do it. So the problem is probably in his right leg. And the tail is still up, uncomfortable. Okay, this horse, see how high his hips come up behind? He looks sound in front, but sore behind. His hind legs don't overreach his front legs. Now here's a horse that's a little nervous. She's all over the place, trying to run off. The rider has a difficult time controlling her. She's not sore anywhere, but her mind is not on training.
Bill Scherr is the developer of the Trainer's Edge visual handicapping system. As an assistant trainer, owner, lecturer, and writer, Bill's experiences at the track formed the foundation for his book, The Trainer's Edge, and this video. He joined us now to explain how to use the techniques you've just learned at the track.
We've just heard from trainers and jockeys looking how to find a winner, the body language of a racehorse. Now we're actually at the track to make our selection. I get a nice view of the track, and I bring my binoculars so I can pinpoint each horse as they come out in the post-parade and finally in the pre-race gallop. The first thing I do is each horse has a speed rating. Next to the number of the horse, I put the speed rating, and then I put the average money earned on each horse. This third thing I do is put where the horse finished the last race and whether he's moving up or down in class. Now, rather than do this, you can simply look at the consensus for the day and underline the three or four horses that are highlighted in the consensus. Now it's time to watch the horses come out on the track and evaluate them. We will do that now. When a horse is very tight on the bit, we have what we call a double circle. I'll circle the number of the horse twice. He's on edge and he's ready. He should be striding out soundly. He should be also have a fine coat and should be on the muscle, as we say, or pulling on his reins. Some horse bow their necks, others just pull on tight reins, but you can see they're eager and happy to run. This is the type of horse we're looking for. When we see this horse, and he's the only horse in the race that looks like this should be our bet. The second thing we look for is the stride of a horse. If the horse has a long, easy-going stride, and he has energy with his stride, and he's smooth-going stride, we make a note of this. If the horse has short, choppy strides, where he's favoring one leg or bobbing his head up or down, we put an X, because we don't want to bet on a horse of this condition. The third thing we look for when they first come out on the track is energy. Some horses look tired and beaten before they even come out to the track. When we see a horse like this, we cross him out and eliminate him. Sometimes a horse is run first by a head a couple of weeks before, and he's just puckered out. He's the favorite today, but we know he can't win because he looks it. He gives you a sign that he has no energy. When a horse is dog tired before the race, can you imagine how he's going to run in the race? So we want a horse that's on the muscle, has energy, and has a good shine, a good coat with a good long stride. Now, there are plenty of horses that fit in between this. They're called racing sound horses, where they have a nice stride and the reins are tight, but their necks aren't bowed. But the horse looks good, the reins are tight, so we put a circle around these horses. These horses are racing sound, and they're usually claiming races. They don't look as good as the trainer's edge type horse, the ideal horse, but you cannot always find that in a race. 90% of the time, horses that win are racing sound, tight horses. The third evaluation would be a horse that looks good, but he's not especially on the muscle. He's just going out there, enjoying himself. He has a nice stride, he seems happy, the reins are a little tight, so we put a half a circle to him. We know he looks good, we know he's feeling good, but he's not on edge, he's not on the muscle. The fourth type is the horse that has very loose reins. He's sort of being pulled to the post. He's got his head over the lead pony. He really doesn't want to run. He's just out there for an afternoon run. He's not going to compete, and he can show you he's not going to compete. His head might be bouncing up and down. One of his front legs usually is choppy or goes out while the other one goes down. The perfect horse goes out together. Two legs striding out together evenly like legs of steel. A choppy horse goes out like this, and he's favoring one leg, and he tends to get off one leg. When the horse goes from a trot to gallop, that shows me if his front two legs are reaching out together in an even stride, he's moving freely and energetically, he's good. He's ready to run, wants to run, eager to run. That's what we're looking for with a trainer's edge, to find a horse that's telling you he wants to win.
Let's join Bill out at the track as he shows us how to pick a winner using the trainer's edge system. Today, Bill will evaluate the 7th race of the day at Santa Anita.
And here comes Multi-Engine. He seems to be really on the bit, on the muscle. He'd be a full circle horse. The 4-horse Keen Line, he's nodding his head, which we don't like. Again, the 6-horse for Breton, the reins are loose, so we don't like him. His right front looks a little sore, too. 3-horse looks very sore. Wait for the wind. Seems to be nodding. The 8-horse is really on the bit. He looks real tight. He's a full circle horse. The 9-horse looks good. He's bought a run with Lucas's horse. The 7-horse, Right Bright, is going evenly and has some kind of a hold. The 10-horse, Have for sure, it just seems to be walking sort of lackadaisically, and the 10-post is very hard here at Santa Anita. And the 5-horse is sort of lackadaisical.
The two Trainer's Edge picks are number 1, Multi-Engine, and number 8, Rain Road, both full circles. Let's see what happened.
5/16 left to go. Right Bright up alongside of Some River. Wait for the Wind now goes to put pressure on them. Then Multi-Engine. Rain Road is coming on gamely in the blue cap at the rail. Rain Road catching fast. Top of the lane. Wait for the Wind, the new leader. Rain Road now coming after him. Right Bright and Multi-Engine is next. 1/8 of a mile left to go. Wait for the Wind. Rain Road comes to chase him home on the outside. It's down to these two. Wait for the Wind. Rain Road. Rain Road catching him stride for stride. Rain Road has got him, and it's going to be Rain Road to win it from Wait for the Wind. Multi-Engine was third.
Bill's full circle horses came in first and third. This is the type of horse you want to bet. It paid a big price and fits the Trainer's Edge profile, while the favorite, on the other hand, seems sore. When 3 or 4 horses fit the Trainer's Edge profile, you can box them if it's an exacta or trifecta race. We asked Bill for more details on the trifecta. Bill, I understand the Trainer's Edge can help us pick a trifecta. What's our first step?
Well, when the horses go by the stands and they look good and they program out, there could be 3 or 4 horses that really look good. So in a trifecta, you can box those 3 horses, and we've had a lot of success. You can also key 2 of the horses and play it with the other 2. So third is really hard, so usually you can wheel the bottom 2 when you key the first 2. So
with the rest of the field?
Right.
Okay. After we've done our analysis, is there any other information should we take notes on which will help our selection?
Well, if the horse had in the racing form, you'll note there are always little comments. Sometimes the horse got blocked, he got boxed. You should note that when you're betting. A lot of winners have come up just by noting that, and then the neck is tucked down. That means they saved that horse because he couldn't win that day because he got in trouble. And now this day the odds are big, and he fits the Trainer's Edge, and he can win.
This is how Cutlass Reality looked going to the gate for that race. Notice his extremely arched neck, pricked ears, and eagerness to run. This horse was in top form and had the Trainer's Edge advantage. He'd use it to pull one of the biggest upsets in Gold Cup history.
They swing into the clubhouse turn. Simply Majestic has the lead by 2.5. Masterful Advocate is second by 2. Third at the rail, Cutlass Reality by 1.5 lengths.
We asked Cutlass Reality's trainer, Craig Lewis, to comment regarding the horse's performance during the Gold Cup.
He was coming off a stunning victory in the Californian, and he was doing exceptionally well, and we thought we'd try the big boys, and the results are now history. He about pulled Gary to the lead. We tried to sit behind the leaders, and with 3/4 of a mile to run, he went in 9 and change, and he still had a lot of horse, and he just drew away from him. He was just right on the right day.
Looked like his neck was arched there and really tucked in, ready to go.
Yeah, he was right, and he was on the muscle, and when he was right, he was a real good horse. Take a good horse to beat him.
On the inside, Cutlass Reality has now taken the lead. Second to the outside, Masterful Advocate. Backing up quickly in third, Simply Majestic. And now as a team on the outside comes Ali Sheba and Ferdinand.
Bill, it seemed that you and Chris McCarron were watching each other so much that Cutlass Reality stole it.
Well, actually, I thought we were watching each other, but what happened, Cutlass Reality came up to that race in perfect condition, and our 2 horses probably were not like they were in those other 2 races. Maybe they took a little bit too much out of themselves in the prior race.
Reality to catch. He's in command by 4 and now 5. Second is Ali Sheba. Third at the rail goes Ferdinand. Here's the wire, and in the 1988 Hollywood Gold Cup, it's Cutlass Reality.
The most important thing in betting the Trainer's Edge is don't listen to any tips, what anybody else is saying. You come to the track, you look at the horses, and you make the final decision. If you think it out and go with your heart and go with what the horse is telling you, not what other people are telling you, you'll be a winner.
In the end, choose wisely and carefully. Use this new advantage and enjoy yourself. It'll be a lot easier knowing what you know now. I'd say good luck to you, but that's what gamblers say. Now you've got the Trainer's Edge. I'm Gil Stratton, saying so long, and we'll see you at the races. The world's
Charles' winningest jockey, Bill Shoemaker, is going to co-host this segment now on great races of the past.
Many of the greatest horses of all time fit the trainer's edge profile. Great stride, powerfully arched neck, and gleaming coat. Let's take a look at the best of the best, John Henry.
And they're off. Loose Ends toward the outside is going to the front. Then John Henry along the rail races second.
Well, he was a great old horse. He knew more about racing than I did. As many times as he ran, he kind of would run his own race. Sometimes he'd come from way back, and sometimes he'd be on the lead. You know, it just depended on the way he felt that particular day and how the pace was. You know, but he was a wonderful horse to ride because he knew what he was doing. All you had to do is just sit up there and kind of guide him and let him do the rest.
They're at the top of the stretch. Loose Ends with a short lead. Then it's Load the Cannons. Galanvert on the outside. John Henry moving between horses. With 1/8 of a mile to go, there's 4 horses battling for the lead. Here comes John Henry moving along the rail, and Galanvert on the outside. Galanvert on the outside. John Henry on the inside. John Henry with a short lead. And John Henry does it again. Winner of the Invitational in '84 by a neck. Galanvert second and Load the Cannons third.
As John Henry became the biggest money-making horse of all time at the 1984 Hollywood Invitational, we asked his trainer Ron McAnally to talk about his performance.
His action was flawless. I mean, I know that was one of his biggest assets. He knew how to beat you all the time. He's a very competitive horse. Never won by a lot, but always made sure that he won.
And John Henry comes back on the rail. Here's John Henry and Zalatea battling stride for stride. John Henry on the inside. Zalatea, Palakaraki, John Henry. His gamest of all in the Turf Cup.
Trainer Charles Whittingham remarked that Sunday Silence had a smooth as silk stride. In this still, we can see that the horse's reins are tight even as he races. Let's take a look back at Sunday Silence in the 1989 San Felipe.
Sunday Silence, Music Mercy, Gary Stevens starting to ask him to run now. They come to the quarter pole. Now Yes I'm Blue has had enough. Sunday Silence and Music Mercy coming after him on the outside. Heads a turn for home. Sunday Silence by 2. Music Mercy out after him in second, and then comes Flying Continental. It's Sunday Silence got the better of Music Mercy. Flying Continental coming on in the center of the track. Sunday Silence by 2 lengths. Flying Continental not going to get him. Sunday Silence and Pat Valenzuela take the San Felipe.
I think maybe Sunday Silence would be, if I had to really pick a favorite, I'd take him because I never had a horse with as much will to win in my life as him.
Is there any way that you can teach them heart?
No, you can't give it to him. You have to be born with that, I believe.
Also, we noticed that when Sunday Silence was on the racetrack, he really bowed his neck. He looked like he was going to run.
Well, he wanted to do everything. He believed in himself, and he could do anything you wanted him to.
The Racing Media's 1991 award for the best 2-year-old at Hollywood Park went to A.P. Indy, owned by T. Surmaki of Japan. It was the celebrated Hollywood Futurity which brought the young horse its first recognition that year. In these shots from the paddock and post-parade, we see A.P. Indy displaying an exceptional trainer's edge profile. Trainer Neil Drysdale commented on A.P. Indy's pre-race condition.
He would flex himself a lot and prance around quite a lot. He tends to flex his neck and take hold of the bit and put a lot of effort into it.
Field sent on their way in the Futurity. They came off to a good break.
Delahousie gave him a very confident ride, took him way to the outside. I don't believe he ever hit him or anything else. He looked to me that he had control of the race. He had the other horse measured.
Extreme outside, A.P. Indy. Let's see, Eddie Delahousie is just asking him to run now, and A.P. Indy looms dangerous in the center of the track. Real West now trying to hold him off. A.P. Indy, Dance Floor comes through at the rail. A.P. Indy on the outside, and Dance Floor joining the fray at the rail. These two pass the 16th pole together. Dance
after this race, AP&D went on to win the Belmont Stakes and later the Breeders' Cup of 1992. He is considered the front runner for the 1992 Horse of the Year honors. One of the great races of all time was the 1987 Breeders' Cup at Hollywood Park. It was billed as a match race between the champion Ali Sheba and Ferdinand.
And they're off. And Ferdinand is out there early toward the inside. Candy's Gold is sent.
The world's winningest jockey, Bill Shoemaker. Bill, give us your opinion about how the horse looked before and during the race in '87.
He looked great. His coat looked great. He acted beautiful and ran perfect.
Bill, tell us about Ferdinand, what kind of a horse he was to ride.
Well, he was a tough horse to ride because if you hit the lead too soon on him, he'd prick his ears and pull up. He thought the race was over. So you had to gauge it just right most of the time to win on him.
Judge Angelucci on the outside. Candy's going toward the rail. Ferdinand and Ali Sheba coming on from the outside. Good command is in behind horses. They're less than a furlong out. Judge Angelucci desperate. Ferdinand right there. Ali Sheba on the outside. Ferdinand. Judge Angelucci on the outside. Ali Sheba. Ferdinand has the lead. Ali Sheba. A final surge. The two Derby winners hit the wire together. Ferdinand and Ali Sheba in a dramatic photo finish in the world's richest horse race.
He ran a great race that day, but I almost misjudged it. I moved maybe a little soon on him. He got to the lead by, half length or so, and he started pulling up and just barely lasted to win. That was one of my great moments in racing.
Here's the '87 Gold Cup field. Number 1, Ferdinand, is owned by Mrs. Howard B. Keck, trained by Charlie Whittingham, and the rider, Willie Shoemaker.
I rode Charlie Whittingham's horse Ferdinand in the '87 Hollywood Gold Cup. I rode for many years for Charlie, and I was Ferdinand's exclusive jockey. Another horse of Charlie's, Judge Angelucci, was also in the race. Our main competition was a horse called Tasso. Ferdinand was in top condition for the race. Arched neck, gleaming coat. Oh, he looked great. He came up to the race in great shape. He trained well for it. And I thought that if I didn't make too many mistakes, he'd win it.
And they're off. Captain Vigers is going to the front. Ferdinand broke fast. Slyly Gifted is up close from the rail. Here comes Judge Angelucci gaining on the far outside. Now Gary Bays puts Judge Angelucci in front with Captain Vigers at the rail second. Stop the Fighting is rushed up third. Slyly Gifted is fourth. Then Ferdinand, Thrill Show, and Red Attack 4 wide on the outside. They're all up close. The field is advancing around the turn. Judge Angelucci leads stablemate Ferdinand by 1 length.
When I got through the field on the backstretch, I knew that I was in good shape, and I think that's the furthest he's won one of those big races with a length and a quarter.
Thrill Show is racing an 8. There's a 1/4 of a mile to the finish, and Judge Angelucci is leading the way by a length. Ferdinand to the outside, races in second. Captain Vigers still third at the rail, and here's Tasso with a chance on the outside. They race past the furlong pole. Ferdinand and Judge Angelucci, the stablemates, go head and head. Judge Angelucci at the rail and Ferdinand. Ferdinand pokes the neck in front. Ferdinand is getting up as they come to the wire. Judge Angelucci is second and Tasso third. It's Ferdinand in front. And the former Kentucky Derby winner, Ferdinand, takes it by a length and a quarter under Bill Shoemaker. Judge Angelucci and Tasso in a photo for second. Willie Shoemaker wins his 8th Gold Cup. Ferdinand gets up and wins it.
And away they go in the San Antonio handicap. Judge Angelucci.
It was a beautiful day at Santa Anita Park for the 1988 San Antonio handicap. Unlike the Gold Cup, Judge Angelucci was not coupled with Ferdinand. So when the favorite Ferdinand ran second to Judge Angelucci, a long shot, I took a lot of flack from the fans.
That perhaps had to be one of the great disappointments for you.
Well, actually, yes, it was, but actually he didn't run his best race that day. As you saw, he was dead last, and I had to kind of get after him to get him to try to pick it up a little bit, so I wouldn't be so far back, but he was not in his top condition that day.
There's nothing a rider can do if he won't come, is there?
No, he's running, and he's doing the running.
What was he like before the race? Was there any indication?
I could tell of galloping, warming him up, that he was not in the same condition or didn't feel the same as he had before.
What's the different feeling that you get as you warm a horse up that you
Well,
can tell?
He just didn't want to gallop, and he'd kind of pin his ears and raise his head up a bit, you know. Like he didn't do that before, so you could, those little signs like that you can usually tell.
Ferdinand out after him, but not quite doing enough.
Conditioning readiness is one of the most important aspects of handicapping. How the horse feels that particular day is the way he will perform.
By 3.5 lengths in the end, Ferdinand got up to be second. Crimson Slew finished third. Then came
One of the true racing rivalries of all time was between Ferdinand and Alysheba. They both won the Kentucky Derby. In the 1988 San Bernardino, they were both at the top of their form. This photograph shows Alysheba's neck completely arched, the best a trainer's edge horse could look before a race. Let's watch me riding Ferdinand and Chris McCarron on Alysheba as we battle it out in this classic race, the 1988 San Bernardino.
Field sent on their way in the San Bernardino. Alysheba breaks smartly, so does Ferdinand. Now here comes Good Taste to take up the running on the outside. Foreign Legion goes with him between horses. Nostalgia Star drops back to trail by 4.
We asked Hall of Fame trainer Jack Van Berg to comment on Alysheba at the 1988 San Bernardino.
I think going into the first turn that day when Chris let him go on and run up through there and get through that hole and make his move before he got in trouble was a good thing. It won the race for him. When they headed up the backside and Good Taste was on that lead by himself, I knew Alysheba was close, but he was carrying that 127 pounds. What made me happier than anything when Shoemaker elected to go on and go up with him. And when those two horses went by up there at the 3/8 pole, when they went up there and hooked Good Taste, and he'd been on the lead, I mean, it was a heck of a horse race from then on.
Pressure on them now. 4 behind that, Foreign Legion and Nostalgia Star. They pass the half-mile pole. Alysheba still doing it so easily, right there between horses. Chris McCarron still sitting on him, but he's going quickly now. Ferdinand's going to go up and take him on, though. And here's the match race we've been waiting for. Alysheba at the rail. Ferdinand alongside, 127 pounds each, and they're going to go nose and nose for the wire.
That was a beautiful horse race. They were put goosebumps on you when they made that move up that backside going into the turn. I thought I had shook Ferdinand loose about 70 yards from the wire, and he did come back on again at us right down on the money. He gave it a last effort. It was a beautiful horse race.
He was just a picture on the racetrack. He was very sharp, alert, yet he walked over there very calm and collected, and he went out there and ran one of the best races of his career. And that was probably the epitome of body language that day when people were looking at him on the racetrack. They were just in awe of how well he looked.
You know, when you talk about Alysheba, I certainly remember the way that he would bow his neck out there in the racetrack. You had to know that he was ready to run.
Well, he was a horse that I think that when the crowd clapped for him, it got his adrenaline flowing, and he really strutted his stuff, and he loved every bit of it.
On a dark, rainy day in November 1988, the Breeders' Cup was held. If Alysheba were to win this race, it would become the biggest money-winning horse of all time.
On the outside, seeking the gold. Alysheba with the short lead. He's unyielding, seeking the gold. A final move as they come to the wire. And Alysheba, America's horse, has done it.
The horse never let nobody down. He did what he was supposed to. He became the richest thoroughbred of all times, and to this day, I don't ever think we got to see the best of the horse. I think he was getting so strong that if he'd went on as a 5-year-old the following year racing, that he'd have showed you things that nobody else has showed you.
We've saved the best for last. The record-breaking run for one of the greatest jockeys of all time, Lafitte Pincay. His horse, Individualist. Looked great before the race. Great coat, ears flicking, tight reins, and good muscling. Physique is the world's leading jockey, having won the Eclipse Award for Best Jockey more times than any other individual. Physique has set the standards for jockeys for over a decade.
As he guided individualists to the gate at the 1992 Palos Verdes Handicap, he was very aware that this might be the day he would break my Santa Anita record for most wins.
They're all set.
It felt very great. About 2 months ago, somebody told me about I was getting close, you know, so as I got closer, I got very excited about it.
Second, media plan on the far side, and Frost Free coming.
I knew that I would do it, you know, but I didn't know if it was going to be that day or not, and I did it on the $100,000 race, so it felt really good. I was very excited.
Back to individualists. They turn for home. Valiant Fleet. Frost Free just waiting for room down at the rail. Apollo is right there. Then media plan. Homeward bound. Valiant Pete. Frost Free at the rail. Apollo. Here comes High Energy and Individualist from far back. Individualist and Lafitte Physique in the center of the track. High Energy and Gary Stevens flying. High Energy and Individualist come for the wire together. Individualist, High Energy, Individualist.
I was very happy, and it was a kind of emotion thing, you know, and that was my reaction after I crossed the wire, because it was kind of close, but I knew I won it. I was very proud because ever since I came to this country, I always admired Shoemaker, and even though when I was a little kid in Panama and I'm breaking one of his records, you know, it felt really great, and the way it happened, you know, in a $100,000 race and by a head, you know, it was a very exciting day.
What a combination. The consummate trainer's edge horse and the world's leading active jockey. This perfectly judged ride on Individualist brought Lafitte his 5th win of the day and a moment in greatness, breaking Bill Shoemaker's record. Knowing how to spot a trainer's edge horse could mean the difference between winning and losing at the track. So use the trainer's edge system and you'll be joining Lafitte in the winner's circle.
He's been called one of the best horses to come around in 25 years. Cigar, 1995 Horse of the Year and history in the making.
Cigar leads it. Silver Goblin can't keep up. The Oakland Handicap and #1 rating will go to Cigar by 2.5.
And it is Cigar whose triumphant wire to wire, a confident and jubilant Jerry Bailey comes home with Cigar.
Here he comes, a super payday for a future champion. Cigar turns the mascot into a Boston Massacre.
Cigar, no competition today. He toyed with them this afternoon, and he glides gracefully under the line with plenty left. And they're off.
Cigar coming to mid-stretch with a 5-length lead. They're coming down to the final 16. And Cigar running a monstrous race today to win the Naira Mile. And they're off.
The following year catapulted Cigar to fame in one of the biggest upsets in racing history.
And now Cigar's in front. Cigar, the leader in the opening quarter, went in 23-3, and Holy Bull is right there with him. And a duel begins to percolate as they move into the backstretch. Holy Bull stopped! Holy Bull stopped suddenly, and Cigar has taken the lead. An astonishing development here. Mike Smith is pulling up Holy Bull down the backstretch. An unbelievable development. Primitive Hall and Cigar are dueling together. Then farther back, Bonus Money is third, and the others are well behind. And at the 8th pole, it's Cigar and Primitive Hall. Those two are coming down to the line together with Bonus Money in third. Cigar is going to win this race.
I think he's rates right up there with him, and I'd say he's the best horse I've ever laid my hands on, and I've had my hands on some pretty fair horses, whether they were mine or somebody else's.
When it comes to working Cigar, trainer Bill Mott keeps the routine simple. Let the horse go. He finds that Cigar instinctively knows what to do and how to take care of himself.
I think any good horse
has good use of themselves, and they don't have much wasted action. And I think he'd be very typical to most good horses that they cover a lot of ground, don't spend a lot of time in the air.
Cigar's smooth, efficient action, arched neck and arched tail are hallmarks of a superior horse, and in many ways, Cigar is the classic example of a trainer's edge favorite. Like all great champions, Cigar rates superior in all trainer's edge categories. Eyes alert as an eagle, muscling exceptional, coat full of luster. Cigar, poised and alert, is everything we like to see in a trainer's edge horse. Here at the post parade of the 1995 Hollywood Gold Cup, his exceptional form foreshadowed his remarkable victory. This opponent, flat-tailed and lethargic, doesn't stand a chance.
I believe horses really know when they're winners, and I think he does have a lot of confidence in himself. I think he has an air about him that would tell you that he's probably a pretty good horse. I think when you see him, he's proud, and I think he looks around and checks everything out. It's definitely there. I mean, there's a lot of confidence built up.
Field sent on their way for the Hollywood Gold Cup. Concern bobbled a little coming out the gate. Urgent Request in the red cap is sprinting up to lead them. Delmar Dennis down at the rail, and Toss of the Coin on the outside gets up third. Cigar getting himself a perfect spot fourth, 3 lengths off this flying early pace. 3/8 to go, and Cigar can wait no more. Cigar kicks on the outside, takes the lead from Toss of the Coin. Delmar Dennis is battling. 5 back to Tinner's Way. Best Pal Concern is also far back, 14 off them. A quarter of a mile to go, and it's going to take something totally unforeseen to see Cigar get beat. Jerry Bailey just looked back. He should have a huge smile on his face, because Cigar is striding through the stretch, moving like a winner. Tinner's Way now coming with a late run at him on the outside, but Cigar is all class, and Cigar wins the Hollywood Gold Cup.
His performance today spoke for itself. I've said it before, he's the best I've ever ridden, and I've ridden some good ones. He's done everything in every place they've ever asked of him.
At the 1996 Don Handicap, Bailey would ask Cigar to break that race's 5-year curse against the track's favorite. Cigar, vigorous in an exceptional trainer's edge form, proved he was up to the task.
And they're off. Cigar was off to an alert beginning, and now there goes Cigar. Cigar moving 3 wide after Star Standard and Flying Chevron. And as they round the far turn with 3 furlongs to go, Cigar has taken the lead. But Wekiva Springs is a powerful presence on his outside. And those two are head-to-head. Cigar and Wekiva Springs. The battle is joined at the top of the stretch. Farther back, Heavenly Prize is rolling from third. Jerry Bailey takes a peek back, looking for the competition with Cigar, and he's pulling away. He's pulling away from Wekiva Springs, who took a bold run at him at the top of the stretch. Then Heavenly Prize is third. It's Cigar. Cigar is coming to the wire, and he wins with devastating ease.
Cigar's extraordinary performance at the 1996 Don Handicap was yet another in a long stream of consistently impressive victories which began the previous year.
There, you may have heard the cheers. Is Cigar, very versatile, a late bloomer. Bill Mott took his charge off the grass. He's been a bear on the dirt.
The highlight of the 1995 campaign, with 12 victories in a row, was the prestigious Breeders' Cup Classic at Belmont Park.
And they're off. Cigar makes his move, and he sweeps to the lead with a dramatic rush with 3 furlongs to go, and Jerry Bailey turns him loose, and he guides him down to the rail as the field turns for home. Unaccounted for down inside, a quarter of a mile between Cigar and a perfect season, coming down to the last furlong with a 2.5 length lead, and Jerry Bailey calls on Cigar for everything he has. The second. On the inside, unaccounted for. On the outside, Sullivan Manor. And here he is, the unconquerable, invincible, unbeatable Cigar!
Cigar is a champion who has won 13 consecutive races, broken 3 track records, traveling in 3 different time zones. Without question, Cigar is Thoroughbred Racing's 1995 Horse of the Year. When you go to the racetrack, focus in on what's happening with the horse's condition today and not be stuck in what happened in the past. A horse's condition changes day to day. Get a good look at the horse as he gallops by the stands on his way to the gate. If the animal is just trotting or walking throughout his entire workout, there is no way to tell how he will race that day. If the horse is not warmed up properly, he may stumble, be left at the gate, or not perform at all. You must chronicle the horse's appearance before and after the race. When a horse pulls up quickly past the finish line, rather than galloping out, he has major problems. This is a definite negative.
This afternoon's Grade 1, $1 million Hollywood Gold Cup.
Now, with simulcast wagering, you must be able to evaluate the post-parade. Let's apply the trainer's edge method to the 1995 Hollywood Gold Cup. Number 1, Cigar. Lots of energy, on his toes, ears moving back and forth attentively. Great gleaming coat, arched neck, arched tail, and complete control. The perfect body language horse. Number 2, Delmar Dennis. Nice coat, but no energy, flat tail. Number 3, Concern. Nice coat, but looks tired, no energy, flattish tail. Concern just traveled 2 times in 1 month from New York to California in summer heat. This trip had to take a lot out of the horse and is coming out of a tough race. Number 4, Tinner's Way. Great coat, arched tail, ears moving, anxious to go, top condition. Number 5, Urgent Request. Good coat, on toes, but pointed tail, head is very high. These are negative body language signs. Number 6, Best Pal. Good coat, but the horse looks very tired and dull. Not interested, flat tail, no energy. He's a definite, well-traveled older horse, 7 years old, past his prime. Number 7, Bloomin' Affair. Okay coat, but dull and tired look. 4 bandages, always a bad sign. Walking a little sore in front. Number 8, Toss of the Coin. Great gleaming coat, plenty of energy, arched neck and tail, anxious to race, but seems a little outclassed. The trainer's edge method picks Cigar for first position because of his high energy, arched neck and tail, and current form. Tinner's Way and Toss of the Coin tied for second pick, as both had positive body language signals.
Toss of the Coin going in quietly, rest of them standing still. Field sent on their way for the Hollywood Gold Cup. Concern bobbled a little coming out the gate. Urgent Request in the red cap is sprinting up to lead them. Delmar Dennis down at the rail, and Toss of the Coin on the outside gets up third. Cigar getting himself a perfect spot, fourth, 3 lengths off this flying early pace. They run to the half-mile pole, and Delmar Dennis now kicks on to lead Toss of the Coin. Urgent Request in deep water at the rail. Cigar has had to be taken 4 wide. He's just too keen to go on, and Jerry Bailey still swinging on the outside, but Cigar's running powerfully. A gap of 5 to Tinner's Way. Concern is 8 off the leaders, then Blooming Affair, and Best Pal's got to come from last today. 3/8 to go, and Cigar can wait no more. Cigar kicks on the outside, takes the lead from Toss of the Coin. Delmar Dennis is battling. 5 back to Tinner's Way. Best Pal. Concern is also far back, 14 off them. A quarter of a mile to go, and it's going to take something totally unforeseen to see Cigar get beat. Jerry Bailey just looked back. He should have a huge smile on his face, because Cigar is striding through the stretch, moving like a winner. Tinner's Way now coming with a late run at him on the outside, but Cigar is all class, and Cigar wins the Hollywood Gold Cup. Tinner's Way, Toss of the Coin in a photo for second.
The trainer's edge picks came in first, second, and third. You want to bet a horse like Cigar with great muscling, nice shine, arched neck and tail. Remember, it's how the horse looks and feels that's the one handicapping factor that never changes. It's the easiest edge in handicapping.
He's one of the most famous trainers in racing today. He's saddled winners in just about every stakes race from coast to coast. He's D. Wayne Lucas, who continues to be the country's most successful trainer, leading everyone in both races and money won. Wayne, in a career with so many highs and more to come, is there a moment or an incident that stands out above the rest?
Well, I think the Derby, Gil, is the thing that, every trainer is always trying to win the Derby, and it's such a difficult race to win that I think when we won it in '88, that was probably the high.
I think that as a generalization that your horses certainly look about as fit as any horses coming to the racetrack.
Well, we put a lot of emphasis on the care, and I think most trainers do. There's two things that you have to deal with when training horses. One of them is the physical condition of the horse, getting the blood count, the heartbeat, getting everything in the best possible shape that you can and having him physically sound. The other thing's the mental. Now, it's always been my contention that the people that are doing the best, meaning trainers, that are the most successful in the horse racing game, are those that are not only doing the physical, but are getting inside their heads and getting them mentally ready. And by that, I mean having him ready to perform the best on a given day at the given hour. That is something that I think is overlooked in a lot of cases, but you've got to get inside of their head. Probably the best coaches in the NBA and the NFL are the guys that are handling the egos and playing the mind games the best, and it's because everybody's able to run and shoot.
Spoken like an old coach.
Thanks a lot, Gil.
Chris McCarron was voted into the Racing Hall of Fame in 1989. He's now in the top 10 of the all-time list of money-winning jockeys. He's won just about every award a jockey can win, and he's still going strong. His two most famous mounts are probably Ali Sheba and John Henry, whom he rode for 8 years, and both of those horses won over $6 million. And Chris, I would imagine that with a great horse like that, you don't have to worry too much, but how about some of the other horses? What do you look for when you're warming them up?
Well, a thing I like to see in the post-parade when you're warming a horse up is that they're keen and alert, yet collected, calm and relaxed at the same time.
Bill Shoemaker, the name means thoroughbred racing. The shoe has gone from Hall of Fame jockey to trainer to the victim of a terrible automobile accident. But the shoe is back and ready to continue his winning ways as a trainer. What do you look for when a horse is warming up that you know that he's ready? Is there an eagerness? Is there something in a stride that you can tell that a horse is on the muscle and ready to go?
Well, you can tell a lot better in the morning when you're training them up to the race, like 5 or 6 days before the race. That's the best way to tell.
What do you find there? What is the significant signal?
Well, they're galloping good and strong. They want to run. They want to work.
How do you relate the training to the way they run in the race?
Well, you can usually tell when a horse is feeling good, the way he works in the morning, the way he acts, and the way he looks. They want to do everything right, and usually when that happens, they run well.
Ferdinand takes it by a length and a quarter under Bill Shoemaker.
Bill, tell us about Ferdinand. What kind of a horse he was to ride?
Well, he was a tough horse to ride because if you hit the lead too soon on him, he'd prick his ears and pull up. He thought the race was over. So you had to gauge it just right most of the time to win on him. He was a lot better horse than his form is going to show, because a lot of those races he got beat in, he should have won.
Bad racing luck?
No, he just pulled up and got beat, I misjudged it.
Was he a kind horse to ride, though, up until the end of the race?
Yeah, he was a nice horse to ride. You could do almost anything with him.
Well, it sure is good to see you, and you look terrific.
Thank you very much.
And away they go. Can get through. Hollywood Reporter's still there. Jungle Pioneer and Tarsho still wide open.
Lackington, Hollywood Reporter, Tarsho, nowhere to go too. Can he squeeze through there? Hollywood Reporter, Lackington, Tarsho didn't make it through. Hollywood Reporter just took a bite out of Lackington, but Lackington goes on to win. Hollywood Reporter second, tight photo.